T minus 1 minute. T minus 50 seconds. T minus 40 seconds. T minus 30 seconds. T minus 20 seconds. Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Own it, own it, own it, Kong. I own it. It did.
Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling show on the planet. Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling show on the planet.
Hey, 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 what's good, everybody? This is Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling show on the planet. And of course, welcome to the WOW Superheroes Aftershow, which of course would normally take place on Mondays at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central Time. But we moved it over because Halloween was yesterday, and we let you guys celebrate and do your trick-or-treating and wear all your costumes and do all the amazing Halloween things. But of course, now we have moved into the November of things, and it's been a pretty crazy day for the most part, but we are still here. Now, of course, my name is Stephanie Hardy, host and creator of the Hardy Wrestling Podcast, proud to be a hosting member on Women's Wrestling Talk and color commentator for the Belladonna Division, Battle Club Pro, and Black Girl Magic 2. But thankfully, I'm not alone to talk about this wonderful show. Right next to me is the amazing and effervescent, and I just got my New Japan on in New York, Miss Emily Mae Heller. How are you?
I'm good. That's an intro. Oh, I need you in my mirror every single day. I wake up, I need like a Stephanie, like press a button, and each day it's like a new saying.
Oh, well, I would love to do that. That would be fun, but sadly, I don't have magical powers.
I think you do. We can make it happen.
I wish I could. And of course, last but certainly not least, underneath us we have the amazing super mom, the host and creator of In Cat We Trust, panel creator, and just all around amazing writer and person, Katrina Blake. How are you, Kat?
Oh, so sweet. I am good. It's been a busy few weeks. Yes, Halloween was busy, obviously, because trick-or-treating and the kiddies, but they had a good time. They were happy. They loved the costumes. I got to be around. People were very nice, considering I didn't trick-or-treat in New York this year. I was in Jersey, so it's pretty cool.
And Katrina and I got to meet in person.
Yes.
Whoa.
We had dinner. I made her take pictures of me at a Broadway show. We went around New York. It was amazing. She came all the way to the city to join me, and she got to see the Friday New Japan show. So yeah, we actually got to see each other in person instead of these tiny boxes. It was so special.
Yes, it's so cool.
Yeah, it's always wonderful anytime we could get together for wrestling things or outside wrestling things and actually meet each other. It's fantastic because, of course, in the past 2 years, we've been dealing with the pandemic and we haven't really been traveling or dealing with stuff. And then in wrestling, we've been blessed, and I've been blessed to make all of these other connections with people who are fabulous, just like you guys. And so when we get the chance to actually go out now and meet each other, it's just like, holy crap, you're real. And holy crap, you're just as amazing in real life as you are on screen. So it's always great to have those moments. And I'm glad you two had those moments. I enjoyed those pictures. I was like, oh, look at them, my loves. But yeah, this weekend we also had WoW, another amazing action-packed episode of WoW Superheroes, full of matches more so than stories, but at the same time one story did coalesce in a beautiful way at the very end after the main event, which we will get to. But ladies, how did we feel about this episode of WoW Superheroes? Starting with you, Emily.
Yeah, I mean, I loved this episode. I loved the main event. I feel like this episode really culminated in a really great way. I enjoyed all of these. I mean, I've enjoyed all the episodes, but I feel like this one really found its grounding in like the WoW kind of superhero universe. And I just enjoyed it so much, and it's leading kind of to this tag team tournament, and the momentum is happening. There was a lot more drama. And I really, really enjoyed this episode.
Me too. I share the same sentiments. How about you, Kat?
It was really good, and I agree, especially with the what we've heard going into this main event over the last few weeks. With one of the people in the main event, I thought it was actually really like a nice bow at the end. I was actually very happy with the outcome. Very happy with the little extra. I was like, oh yay! My little heart was very happy, and so I thought they did this like again with the tournament and with it working the way I've been saying I think it's going to go. It seems like it's going that way. I thought that was really good. I even thought even the little matches, there was moments in the other matches where I was like, okay, like could this be like an issue next episode or 2 episodes from now? And so it was like things I love that they were able to kind of pull off in these matches. And so a really solid episode this week.
Yeah, it definitely was. And of course, for those who are watching on Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook, thank you for watching. And of course, if you have any feelings about this episode of WoW, chime in the comments, and your comments may pop up on screen during our time together on tonight. So, of course, we have to start with the recap of the episode where they talked about the triple threat match for the WoW World title involving the Beast, Tormenta, and Raina Del Rey. They showed replays of everything that happened, even of Tormenta flying high, and there was a woman who was looking majorly shocked, which turned out to be Rain Cruz, who won the SummerSlam ring announcer contest. And my mind was blown away by it, because the first time I watched the match I didn't know who it was, but then I looked again Saturday and I was like, oh snap, it's Rain. So that was cool. But either way, they showed the match, and they showed the Beast retaining her title, but they did say that she had sustained an injury to her ankle during that match. And David McLean later said on commentary that he did visit her and that she is in good spirits and that she cannot wait to come back to WoW. So we do wish the Beast a speedy recovery, because injuries suck, but superheroes are human as well. So we do wish her a speedy recovery in the midst of that. So guys, how are we feeling about the Beast being injured?
It's unfortunate. It's you don't want nobody wants to be injured. As a regular person, you don't want to be injured. And I like that. It makes things a lot more difficult. You have to heal. If you have regular things you have to do, it's a little harder. And so for somebody who's like an athlete or somebody who's in a situation where your body is kind of on the line, I feel like it's even more imperative for them not to be injured, because they have to kind of entertain and do things that we normal people wouldn't do. So it's unfortunate, because she was, on such a tear that it's like, what do we do? What do we go from now? But I do hope she recovers, quickly, and she's back to herself when she's all healed up.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is part of, I feel like this is part of being an athlete and part of being a wrestler. Sometimes this happens, and it's unfortunate, but I think this gives people, the opportunity to step up, and even champions have moments, right? So I just hope that she gets better and takes the time, and that's what's important. Like, you can't rush it.
Yeah, you definitely can't. Here's hoping that she's taking her healing process seriously and that she will be back to rage on our screens again because we will miss her. But moving forward, our first match took place, and of course, it was between the Tonga Twins and the Heavy Metal Sisters. And the sisters who fought were Fury and our girl Razor.
Mhm.
This match was a third round match in the WOW Tag Team Title Tournament, and this match was really good. I enjoyed it. It was a couple of it was a lot of different moments that I really enjoyed, like AJ talking about how cool the Heavy Metal Sisters are and how she wants to drop in their DMs, which I thought was really funny. We also had the Heavy Metal Sisters sort of starting with Fury pushing one of the twins away and isolating one of them, to the point of keeping them away for a lot of the time. But then Razor and the twin even had one of the twins had a headbutt battle, which was so funny because they called it a headbanger in terms of the whole rock star thing. And then you had the Tonga twins really showing the best of themselves as they did like a double hip attack, and then they also like hit like a clothesline and stuff like that. So they were really showing the best of what they had to offer in this match. Even Fury was trying to break up the count to a point because it seemed like Razor was continuously separated from her team, and it was almost like they were going to lose. Like it was really
Yeah,
on
I mean,
the
yeah.
side of the Tonga twins.
Yeah, I mean, Razor in the beginning really tried to take the offense right off the bat, really tried to take charge of this match. But then that gets her into some situations where she's gonna have a tough time getting out of, like in this moment, right? So
Mhm.
you have to realize like you're a team, and so you have two other people that can come in and help, and so this I think Razor has that type of fierceness that she's going to go after whatever opponent. And the Tonga Twins obviously have been going through and really taking over the tag team division here at WoW, and really kind of making a stance in this tournament. But I feel like you got to work as a team, and as we saw in this match, is it kind of that kind of camaraderie kind of fell apart, and them working together a little bit, and unfortunately, it led to their loss.
Yeah, and then but I will go back and say that there were some impressive parts on the part of the Heavy Metal
Mhm.
Sisters, like where Fury actually Fury was trying to reverse a hold or reverse like a suplex that that one of the twins was trying to pull on her, but then as she reversed it, she turned it into a tornado DDT, and that shook up the twin for like a little bit, and I was just like, okay, like that was really impressive. But even with all of that, the twins still found a way to outdo the Heavy Metal Sisters because as Razor was trying to rally for help, the twins pulled a little twin magic there. And both of them were laying in the ring, and she was wondering like which one do I cover, and she wound up covering both of them, but then they both kicked out, and then they hit their double Samoan drop on her for the win. So basically the Tonga twins continued their dominance in this match. But the Heavy Metal Sisters were still impressive with their athleticism here, but it was all about the Tonga twins. So ladies, how are we feeling about the Tonga twins continued reign of dominance in this tournament? You can go first, Emily.
I mean, as like we've said before in previous episodes that these tag teams in WoW, they're gonna have a really, really hard time, I think, beating the Tonga Twins. I think they're the dominant force in the tag team tournament, and there is gonna have to be some heavy hitters that have to come in and really try to get that win. I think they are predominantly the leading tag team right now. They're the shoe in right now. So I think we have a lot more episodes to go. There might be some heavy hitters we haven't seen yet, and I think that's the exciting part. Is like how there might be some surprises, some turns here.
Yeah, definitely. What about you, Kat?
Yeah, as I've said previously, I have them winning the tournament. I have the Tonga Twins winning. I feel like, and this is not to discredit the other teams, but I think that twin magic that I don't have, but the twin magic that seems very prevalent with them works really well, with them. So you can see that during the tournament how well they're working together, how dominant they are, how like I want to say like even there was moments where they're super hard hitting, and it is going to be a problem for a team that might be put together that's not even as in sync as they are. I feel like they're really like in sync also. And so I feel like if one happens to lack, which I haven't really seen that, the other will probably step in if needed. I feel like that's kind of the vibe they have. And so they're going to be like, I will be truly surprised if they don't take this tournament. I have them winning the tournament, honestly. That's how dominant I thought they were from the first episode I saw them.
Yeah, I understand that. I completely agree with that. But I was disappointed, low key, because you have the heavy metal sisters who clearly have all of this aggression and all of this, power, and all of their know-how and stuff like that. But at the same time, it was just, and then of course we're devastated because um we know Razor. And so it was just kind of like, oh man, I know I love the Tonga Twins, from my heart. But at the same time, you got Miss Razor, who's a friend of Women's Wrestling Talk. And it's just like we want to see her succeed. And she wound up getting the brunt of the drama that the Tonga Twins was bringing. Like it was a little bit hard at some places, but either way, it was still a good match.
Yeah, and it's interesting to see the difference. They talked a little bit about this on commentary about the experience difference between those two teams. And so it's interesting to see the Tonga Twins that are a little bit newer as a tag team still dominating these regular heavy metal sisters that have been at WOW for a while. So it's interesting to see that dynamic, and they talked a lot about that that whole background.
Yeah, that is a little bit different, but I guess sometimes, sometimes the pupil can sometimes surpass the teacher, and I guess that's what's going on here. Not saying that the heavy metal sisters are teachers, but in this case, the people who came before. So it makes sense. But in the comments, we have JD, of course, who's always watching, saying, "Where are y'all Halloween costumes at?" Look, JD.
We're all Halloweened out.
Exactly.
I did wear something Halloweenish the last two shows. I was in costume, but I did two costume changes, and so I'm good now. I can't. We're in November now, birthday month. Halloween's past.
Exactly. We are in the November of things now. I mean, no shade to anybody who's still feeling that Halloween vibe, but at the same time, we're just tired and it is November. So give us a little bit of a break, give us some grace. But you know who didn't have any grace going on in their situation? BK Rhythm and Candy Crush. So after the tag team match took place, BK Rhythm and Candy Crush had an interaction backstage before their match. And BK basically said that even though she knows that Candy is a boxer, she was basically going to hit her and twist her up, right? But then freaking Candy Crush came back with a comeback line that said, "Yeah, boxing is all about rhythm and flow. So I know exactly, what you're talking about in terms of rap." But then she said that even though BK has bars, basically that Candy has blows. And I was like, "Oh, okay. Cool." So, this led into their match after the commercial break, and they did their intros and whatnot. But then, of course, BK said one of her infamous or famous raps, depending on your rap taste, and she said that she was going to twist Candy Crush up like her hair, and I was like, well, dang. And so Stephen Dickey on commentary didn't take too kindly to this at all, because he feels like BK Rhythm sort of feeds into the roast humor and the roast vibe in terms of what she chooses to do with her rapping. And he feels like at WOW they try to, lift each other up, and she only seeks to tear people down. Which you can say is true, because she has her diss tracks or whatever. But she does back it up in the ring in this match. So yeah, JD was also saying in the comments that I like how the boxer Candy Crush is actually incorporating boxing trunks into her attire. Yeah, her attire is there, and she brings out her boxing gloves that her grandmother gifted her as well. So yeah, all the boxing stuff is really there with Candy Crush. But after, of course, she was rapping and that was over with, they got into the match. Candy had BK Rhythm in a headlock, and she had her twisted for a good part of the beginning of the match. But then BK was battling back with lots of arm twists and kicks. And she even tried to mock Candy Crush by punching the air and saying, "Look at me, I'm Candy Crush." And I was just like, "Oh my God, you're rude. You're real rude."
Well, I
Yeah,
love how
Emily?
both of them had such attitude in the beginning of this match. Like BK
Yes, the
Rhythm coming up
sass.
with her rap, and always, like commentary said, always bringing someone down. And I felt like there was such energy at the beginning of this match. I really loved it. They just did not want anything to do with each other, and I loved how that's kind of how they started.
Yeah, that was fun. And even when they did have something to do with each other, they were really hard hitting. There was even a point where BK was even bleeding from her nose, and I was like, "Oh my God, what happened?"
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just lots of hard hits and hard kicks and lots of like submission work and everything. But in the end, Candy Crush wound up hitting BK Rhythm with a clothesline and with her right hand with a punch, and she wound up winning the match. So, ladies, how are we feeling about the rise of Candy Crush, and what do we think is next for BK Rhythm?
I mean, I think BK Rhythm is gonna write some new, write some new lyrics, write some new songs for her next opponent. And I think Candy Crush is, I'm glad Candy Crush got this moment. I think it's gonna be, it's gonna be interesting to see who her next opponent is. But I think both have really great energy. I think they both really kind of just like reamed on each other during this match and just was not, did not take anything lightly. And I liked this showcasing because we've seen BK Rhythm before in previous episodes where she's a little bit lighter, but I feel like this was super heavy hitting, which I enjoyed.
Yeah, what about you, Kat?
Yeah, I'm not surprised with the Candy Crush kind of rise that's happening right now, as far as where it seems like they're trying to go with her. The story when we first was introduced to her, and then even like the whole like getting knocked back down, getting knocked down, getting back up, and kind of keep doing until you do what you need to do. I feel like that's kind of what they're doing with this, because even with BK Rhythm changing a bit of her style, she was a little bit more hard hitting. I felt in this match as well. But Kenny still came out kind of victorious. And so I don't know if that means, again, because we've seen like if this means she'll get a turn in character where she'll be a little nicer, maybe use her reps for good or something, or is it just gonna make her spiral into a place where maybe she'll still be like heel but more aggressive? And that can also be a very dangerous thing as well, depending on who the wrestler is. And so I can see it can kind of go either way with BK Rhythm, but I do like what they're doing with Candy Crush. I think it's a nice little trajectory upwards, considering what they said when we first was introduced to her as the audience.
Yeah, I agree with that. I am enjoying the rise of Candy Crush, and it is easy to invest in her story. Not saying that it isn't easy to invest in any of the other superhero story, because gosh, like these women have the best stories like I have ever heard of them rising above lots of different adversities. But when it comes to Candy Crush, like she really is, a hero. She has a unique look, like everything about her is just, gorgeous and nice. So, and she's a hard hitter. And it's really easy to get invested in wanting to see someone like that win. Now with BK Rhythm, she could, utilize her losses lately to drive her forward to be a better wrestler or a more fiercer heel. So I definitely completely understand that. But I just hope that her raps, actually get a little bit better. Get a tad bit better. Not saying that she isn't a good, rapper as it stands now, but usually when people, have more aggression, it tends to make them want to go harder, in their delivery when it comes to rap.
You think it
So
should be more emotional, like where, but like better lyrics, better.
maybe, I don't know, maybe a little bit more emotional.
Okay.
Maybe.
Because I feel like if she got this loss, like the next one, she's going to be a little bit more, but also maybe she's a little bit more emotional, more punchy in the next time she's in the ring with these raps. But I feel like she should take it and like bring it to another level, you know?
Or maybe something that would be interesting just to give a little bit of a nod and a tribute to a person. Maybe she could use triplets like the Migos. Maybe, just maybe. But I just have to say, I want to use this moment to sort of give a rest in peace to Takeoff, who was 1/3 of the rap group The Migos. I know I don't want it to necessarily be on a sad note, but at the same time, I have to acknowledge it because he was a part of the culture for many years. And I do hate what happened to him, but we do wish his family the best and healing in that situation, most definitely, because that was tough to wake up to. But hopefully he is in a better and more peaceful place than here. And he definitely was the backbone of the group. And when you think of rap of the last 10 years, you do think about the Migos and how they were able to revolutionize rap by reintroducing ad libs and also utilizing the triplet style in rapping. So much respect and love to them and his family during this tough time. It seems we've lost Katrina.
Yeah, it looks like she might be having some Wi-Fi issues.
Oh no.
So she's probably logging back in.
Yeah, more than likely. But yeah, like this match was really good and I can't wait to see what happens next with these girls. Like, do you believe that Candy Crush could, one day qualify to be a future WoW World Champion?
Yeah, I mean, I think any of the WoW superheroes have a shot at it. I think they just got to put in their time, put in their work, and they gotta kind of go through the ranks like the Beast did, and just kind of keep kicking butt and improving. And I feel like everyone has a chance and everyone has a shot. It's just whether it's the right time and all the opponents have to line up in the right way.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely think she would have a good chance too. But the line is really long, so we'll just have
Mine
to wait
is
and
long.
see.
Honestly, I don't want to be a champion. I don't want that target on my back. I don't want anyone looking at me like, hey, that is not a fun place to be in.
I imagine it isn't, but it's just like Dusty Rhodes said a long time ago. If you're not in it to be the champion and to be the best, then what are you doing it for?
I mean, true. I mean, it is good to be at the top, though. So.
Yeah, definitely. Katrina has returned.
Sorry, my internet totally went out. It was like crap, so I was trying to get back on.
It is okay. We were just about to go into the next match. So
Perfect
the
timing
next match, huh?
Perfect timing then.
Yes. The next match is of course another tag team match because here it is. This entire episode was very, very, very action packed. It was between Holiday and Chainsaw, who were accompanied to the ring by Siren the Voodoo Doll and Steffi Slays, who's one of my favorites, and Vivian Rivera, who's another one of my favorite. Both of them. I love them both. But either way, this was a tag team match and it wasn't a tournament match per se. It was just a regular tag team match. This match was something that I really did enjoy because like I said, this was a few weeks ago was my first time ever seeing Holiday wrestle. So I got to see more of her power stuff that she has going on with her. And then of course you have Chainsaw, who was just intimidating in every shape or form. And then you had AJ Mendez, who was on commentary feeding into the idea that this was sort of like a light versus dark situation or a good versus evil. And she said, but sometimes evil is just so much fun. And I was just like, oh, AJ.
Right? Oh, this was so fun.
Oh, AJ.
I feel like AJ would be part of the dark side.
She would.
I feel like she's a little bit, she's a trickster. She'll have a little bit too much fun on that dark side. She was so willing to be like, yeah, the dark side's more fun. So
exactly.
We see you, AJ. We see where you're going.
Exactly. She'd be at the right hand of Emperor Palpatine. Mm-hmm. God.
Maybe she's going to be in charge of this Holiday, maybe there's a little faction forming here. Because, AJ might not want to get back in the ring, but I feel like she's a great leader. So perhaps she is the leader of this WoW dark side forming here.
Yeah, maybe that's what they should call their faction, the WoW Dark Side, or just or the Dark Side or something, and just spell it weird or a funky way or something, and then have AJ be like the other manager. That would be lit, actually.
I think there's possibilities there.
That would be cute. I see you, Emily, with the ideas. Cat,
Yeah,
you
I
want to
can
get
see
in?
it.
You know me.
I like it. But yeah, like I was saying, as the match got started, Vivian and Steffi really proved that they do have a little bit of chemistry, but then they were on the struggle bus in some places, and it was kind of and it made me sad because all I've been wanting as a fellow Stephanie is to watch another Stephanie win. Okay. And she knows this because she actually interacted. She interacts with me on social media all the time. So I'm just like, girl, like, when are you gonna win a match for us for Team Steph? Okay, come on, let's do it. Okay, but they did big her up a lot on commentary while she was fighting Holiday, and talked about how she's a WoW veteran and how she wrestled while also graduating from high school, and how David McClain watched her graduate from college and from medical school, which I think it's really cool, and admirable, for you to balance all of that and still have a wrestling career. I can't wait to hear more of her story. If they do a segment on her, I really hope they do because I do want to learn more about it. But yeah, like this was really amazing. In this picture right here, she tried to sort of bridge her way out of a chokehold that Holiday had her in, but it was kind of unsuccessful. But she did, and then Holiday also attacked and threw Vivian out of the ring while she was interacting with the crowd. And on commentary, they were talking about how Vivian, basically let herself get distracted. And AJ made an amazing color commentary call when she said, "How could you turn your back on Michael Myers?" And I was just like, this is just a Halloween tastic time that we are just having in this match. But it was still really good. There was even a point where Steffi Slays even she hit this one move that was just really impressive. She hit a bulldog onto Holiday from the top rope. And I was just like, come on, girl, get it. Like, do that. But as it turns out, as her and Vivian, as she was finally able to tag Vivian in, they had some teamwork going on. But then one of them threw I think threw Chainsaw out of the ring, and then they had a little bit of a miscommunication as Steffi did a splash, but then Vivian tried to either push her or tried to break up the count somehow. And with that miscommunication, it left an opening for the other team to basically take advantage of them and cover Stephanie for the win. And Holiday and Chainsaw won the match. So, and ladies, how are we feeling about Holiday and Chainsaw?
I like them. I like, I'm a spooky person, spooky seasons all the time for me. And so I do like things that are not necessarily in the box. I like characters that kind of fits outside what normal characters are. And so I like it. I did appreciate AJ's commentary when she was saying certain things. I was like, yes, like you get it. Like it's also obviously it's always nice to have that nice cookie cutter wrestler, and I love both Steffi and Vivian. I think they're like fantastic, but I do like the wrestlers that don't necessarily fit inside the box. And maybe if you're somebody who don't know somebody like a Holodead, or Chainsaw, and you stepping into the ring for the first time, they wouldn't be wrestlers you look at like maybe not right away, like, oh, I got this. You might have to, I don't know. You might have to question a little bit when you step into the ring with somebody like Holodead who doesn't necessarily fit the box. And so I like that they are allowing all of that to show, because we've seen Holodead in other promotions and she's pretty much the same. It's like I love that they're allowing that to happen. And I was a little annoyed, I'm not gonna lie, with that ending with I was like, sis, how did you get her off the pin? I was like, I like rewatched it and I'm like, I was more annoyed the second time because I'm like, how did we get to this point where you slip her out of a pin? I felt like they had it at that moment, like it was in the bag. And then she got out, and I was like, "Wait, no!" And I was just like, "I can't even get mad at the ref. The ref was like, the ref didn't do anything. I can't even be like, ref, maybe you're counting slow or something." Or the ref when they get up and they're like hurt and they take 20 years to get back to the action. It wasn't even the ref's fault. It was literally just like, "Sis, how did we do this?" And so I was annoyed. I was like, "Oh my god, you guys!" I was rooting. Again, I love Holiday. I love the whole thing with that stable. it's so different. It's so out of the box. I love that. But I was definitely rooting for them, especially when I heard the call. I was like, sis, I know what it is to do like 20 things at the same time and still manage to stay afloat. Like, to me, that's always kudos when you can do that many things. Like medical school, what? Girl, listen, and you still wrestling and being your fabulous self. To me, that earned so many kudos off when they were saying that. I was like, oh, this is so cool. Like, you did this in school. Like, your mom was like, oh, she got this. Like, the confidence. I love that so much. And so I was really rooting for them to win. So when that happened, I was like, sis. And then I was like, kind of annoyed. I was just sitting here like that meme with like the guy who's kind of standing like this. That's how I felt on the inside. I was just like, sis, how did we get here? How did this happen? But I did really enjoy the matchup. I thought it was really good. But I was like, how? Like, how do you make this big of a, like, this is such a mistake that I'm just like, so I was just sitting there, I had to look at myself, like, why are we doing this? Like, how, like, if they could hear me through the screen, they heard like what I felt. But it was a good match. I did like it. I like that, again, you had two very different types of teams in this match. I thought it was really good.
Yeah. I mean, Stephanie and Katrina, I loved the fact that, again, on commentary, they're like, this is like good versus evil, right? They were really pushing the story of going to school, wanting to be a doctor, wanting to help people, versus Holodead, versus Chainsaw, like, versus like very like otherworldly characters that are drawn to the dark side, drawn to evil, have been around. As we said, other promotions have really kind of dominated other places, and here they're really telling the story of like this kind of this I wouldn't say maybe prodigy. I don't know if prodigy is the right word, but they're definitely putting the other team on a pedestal where they're like, look at this. They really push that story of like going to school, being a doctor, the parents, the mom saying, hey, you're going to go do this. You're going to, follow your dreams. Like, they're really building this really big moment for them. And I think, Katrina, it was surprising that they didn't get this win, but I think it just means there's more down the line. There's more there, because you can't always win your first match as the underdog, right? Like, it's true kind of like an underdog story here. So I think they're going to be kind of telling the story and using that. You need your motivation. You need to push through and overcome this little mountain, overcome this hill that you have to climb. And this is going to be the story that they're going to tell. And I think with this little upset win, I think that's what we're going to see. We're going to see them come back stronger, come back even better.
Yeah, when you said, following and running up that hill, I'd be like, you're running up that road, you're running up that hill, keep running up that building. Yeah, that's what I thought about. I'm sorry. So essentially it made me upset that they lost that. And also here again, because Steffi's story is something that is relatable for multiple women, around the world, and all over the world, how we balance so many different things and yet we don't crash and burn. Like, seriously, there are some times where I'll hear stories about women balancing things, and Katrina's one of them. And I just sort of look at them and just be like, man, you're so fabulous. How in the world do you do all of this stuff? Like, and I feel like maybe I would like pass out somewhere and just be like, I can't. But at the same time, we're women and that's what we do. We juggle things, and then we juggle some more, and then we juggle some more. And then when it's time to put it down, sometimes we put it down and then we rest, and that's okay. So I loved hearing that story about her, but I'm ready for her to get that win, though, for real. Team Steph is still here, okay? In the moments where she loses and the moments where she wins, Team Steph is still here. We're still rooting for her. So yes, they did address that a lot. And then talking about her mom and how she was encouraging her, that made me feel good on the inside too. So yeah, they did sort of paint Steffi as this girl who has all this stuff going on, and talked about her resilience and stuff. So I can't wait to see that on display the more we get into WoW. But yep, her and Vivian had a miscommunication, a little bit of a hiccup there, and Holodead and Chainsaw wound up getting the win. So they did announce that next week, or at least this coming weekend, Commander Sahara Spars will be on, and she will be fighting Penelope Pink. And I don't know, they did show a little bit of a preview of all of what we were going to see on this coming weekend, but that's pretty much it. They didn't really have a whole lot of stories in there, but we get more story with the main event, which was Leia Makoa versus Tormenta. And guess who returned to introduce Tormenta? Sophia Lopez, the greatest attorney in the world.
Attorney, I'm surprised David McLean let her get even close.
Right, me too. I didn't have a good feeling about that when he brought her back, when she made her intro. I was like, oh no, please don't tell me she out here about to cheat. Please don't tell me she about to cheat for Tormenta. Please, no, please, no. But she did interfere a little bit, but not a whole lot like she did the last time. So I will give her credit. And she came out there and did the intro for Tormenta. And it was so impressive the way that she said Tormenta's name and held out the first syllable of it. And I was just like, yes, that's how you hold a note, dang it. And that's how you intro somebody. So yeah, that was cool. But yeah, Tormenta made her entrance and Leia Makoa made her entrance too. Now earlier in the night, David McLean was telling Steven and AJ Mendez on commentary how he had a planned surprise for Leia. Now, of course, as they told her story like a few weeks ago, when she first made her WOW debut, she talked about how her family didn't necessarily support her as much when it came to her wanting to start her wrestling career. And all the struggles that she faced being bullied as a Pacific Islander woman, and just so many other different things that she had to rise above in terms of that hurt. So David McLean heard all of this and actually heard her say that her wild dream was for both of her parents to see her wrestle. And he said on commentary that when he called her father, he didn't know who it was, and he was like, bro, like, who are you? And he was like, I'm David McLean with WOW Women of Wrestling. Would you like to, fly up to LA with your wife and see your daughter wrestle? And he said that the father was speechless, and I was just like, oh my god, no. And these are the
Let me
yeah
tell you, it's very
yes
concerning. I loved this commentary story because you never want to get a call from your emergency contact. I mean,
right.
you never, like, so I found it like a very charming story because I was like, oh, I've been on the other end of that call where you're like, wait, why are you calling me?
Oh, but yeah, it was so nice how David did it. It was definitely really classy. He was just like he looked in her emergency records and then he called her parents, and that's how it happened. It was just very touching. So I loved every inch of this. So as he was telling the story, the match was going on, and this was a really good match. Like, if you were going to pick a main event to have that was full of action and so many different types of wrestling in one match, then this was the match that you were looking for. Leia Makoa had so many impressive moments here. She had Tormenta in a headlock. You had Tormenta giving Leia suplexes all over the place. They had some chain wrestling going on. Like, it was just really cool. I loved this match so much. There was even a point where I saw Leia hit like a Japanese style arm drag, and I thought that was really interesting how they pointed that out on commentary, and kudos to them, because I know I had never seen that wrestling move before, or maybe I had, but either way, I'm glad that they pointed that out because I felt educated from it. So, and then there was a point where Steve and Dicky even compared Tormenta to a superhero or a villain that would be in a comic book, to which AJ, quipped and said, hey, I know what that's like because, I love to read comic books and I'm an author of one. That's a major flex. You're a comic book writer, you're a wrestler and a commentator. Get it, AJ. But yeah, like, there was even one point where Sophia tried to interfere in the match by messing with Leia's hair. And like in this picture where Tormenta hit Leia with the double knees. Like, it was just a really high octane match here. But in the end, there was even one point where Leia hit a atomic hurricanrana on Tormenta, and that was another impressive spot from her. Like, Leia really is here to prove that she is not here to play any games, and she's here to be a champion. And then she hit a Samoan drop for a near fall, and she was really surprised by that because that's usually what ends most of her matches, but it didn't that time. But then she wound up hitting another slam onto Tormenta in order to win the match. So this was a very triumphant win, a huge win on the part of Leia Makoa. And then after that, we don't necessarily have pictures of it, but after that, David McLean congratulated Leia on her win and basically said that her parents were in the audience watching her the entire time, and she looked very emotional, and this is where I started crying, and I'm more than sure anybody else started crying if they had a heart or something. But yeah, it was just too much. I was just like, oh my God. And then they put the camera on her parents, and you saw her mom first, and her mom was like this beautiful full-figured woman with all this beautiful gray hair, and she was screaming for her, had her phone up and everything, like being the consummate mother, and they were yelling for her. And then when she ran up and hugged them, it was just so sweet. And that was how WoW ended. So ladies, how do we feel about this match, and how do we feel about Leia having one of her WoW dreams come true?
I mean, this is why we watch, these shows, is like these moments are what I enjoy. Just like Stephanie, you said that, like having parents and have families see dreams come true. That's what it's all about, right? And so this was, this was a fantastic match. I think it was a fantastic showcase for her, and the fact that her parents were there to see it. They built up a lot towards this. We've seen her in previous episodes really shine, and I feel like this was the episode that really kind of like broke the mold a little bit, kind of broke the through the wall and the waters a little bit to really make her stand out. So I think we're building to this that she is championship material here.
Yeah, she did such a great job. I loved it. Like I loved her performance here, and I love Tormenta's performance as well. So Kat, how are you feeling about it?
It was an amazing, main event. I was a little worried that Tormenta had her lawyer there because I was like, listen, sis, let's not interfere. But she actually kind of behaved, and I was very grateful for that. It allowed the ladies to kind of show what they had. I thought it was a really good match. And I was really, really happy with the outcome. And again, nothing to Tormenta. I think she's great, but I'm a fan of Leia. And so I was happy with the outcome. And when they showed her mom as a parent, the one thing you want to do is hope you can watch your kids do the things they want to do that are not hurting anybody. We clarify that. That's not maliciously hurting anybody. You want to be there, because I can't say if you're a wrestler or fighter, you may hurt somebody, but like maliciously hurting anybody, you want to be there for your kids to make their dreams come true. I'll watch them do something that makes them happy. That's something I tell my kids all the time. Like, if I can try to be there and make it happen so you guys can do the things you like to do, I'm there. As long as it's nothing like crazy or bad, I will be there. And so that, like, as a parent, I was like, oh yay, like she's there, and she got to see it, and she was hype, like how I would probably be if that was my kid. I would probably be super extra. I would be so extra in the audience, so extra. And so I'm extra with people I know, like friends. I'm like, oh, I know this, and I'm extra. So for my kid, it'll be a whole lot worse. And so it was so nice to kind of see that element. Like, she seemed surprised that she won at one point. Like, it was a hard fought match, and I liked that too. I thought it was a nice little touch. Like, she worked hard to get this victory, and I feel like this does make her look more like, okay, this, you can definitely see her being champion, because even when things kind of look like, I don't know, she still pulled out that victory anyway. And then having, with somebody, they didn't really support the things I do, and I really wish they would. So now have them there cheering you on, that had to be a lot to take in as like for her. And so I thought that was a really like great touch. I guess as I'm a sap anyway, and so little things make me cry all the time. But as a parent, I understood that, wanted to just try to be there as much as you can for your kids when they're doing things that they love to do and makes them happy. So I loved it.
Yeah, it was so beautiful. So beautiful. I enjoyed it so much. And I was crying, and I was just like, I wish they had showed more of their interaction as the show was getting ready to end. But what they did show, it was heartfelt, and the point was made. And I'm just so happy that Leia was able to have that moment with her parents, who may not have necessarily supported her in the beginning, but at least they see how good she is now. And they can be there for her now, and then they could heal those wounds together and just have a better relationship and a better understanding of each other going forward in adulthood. So yeah, like that was just a really beautiful healing thing. And it was just a great way to end the episode of WoW. It goes to show, like, wrestling isn't just the athleticism, it's also the moments, that are very heartfelt and loving from the people who do it on a regular basis. And they want the same things that we strive for too. So it was beautiful. So, ladies, that brings us to the end of our WOW Superheroes After Show. Thank you guys so much for joining me, and just tell everybody where they can find you. We'll start with Emily.
Yeah, you can find me on all social platforms at Emily Mae Heller right there below. And yeah, I have a lot of things going on. So just follow me there and you'll be all up to date.
And you, Kat.
I'm pretty much on everywhere as well. On Cat We Trust, TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram. The E is a 3. I do have a show Friday in the Bronx. So if you're there, pop in. I will be doing my backstage interviews and correspondence for the show until kind of like excited for that, since like this is the first time at this venue. And if the week after, I will be in the UK with Stephanie and some other lovely ladies doing the Comic-Con panel for MCM Birmingham. And so super like excited about that. And then I got some awesome news this morning, literally, but I cannot announce it yet. But that actually, considering I was like, oh crap, it really just, like this like super cool things. And so I'm like really excited to announce that, which will be soon. So yeah, just kind of follow. I usually post everything on Instagram or Twitter or Facebook. And so if you're on there, you would see what's happening on my end as well.
Awesome sauce. Well, know that you can follow me, your girl Stephanie Hardy, on Instagram and Twitter at Queen Steph Hardy. Everything I post is on there as well, so you can't miss it if you subscribe and follow me everywhere. And also support my show, The Hardy Wrestling Podcast. Listen to those past episodes from the past 2 years. Still under construction, still figuring stuff out for my show, doing upgrades or whatnot, so I can give you guys the best wrestling content I can. And of course, I'm happy to be with Katrina in the UK, technically, digitally, and all of the things. It's a really good vibe, really great things. So please be on the lookout for that. And yeah, so please also know that you can follow Women's Wrestling Talk on Instagram and Twitter at WWTalkPod, and check out our website, www.talkpod.com, where we have articles, interviews, merchandise, and all of the great things that our writers team writes every day involving wrestling news and all kinds of op-eds, including mine, which is the top 5 Zelina Vega moments. Please check that out. And just continue to support the brand. Subscribe to us on YouTube, like us on Facebook, and follow us on Twitch as well. So in the meantime, in between time, this is Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling show on the planet. And until next time, we'll be back on Monday next week. Bye, y'all.
Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling show on the planet. Women's Wrestling Talk, the the number one women's wrestling show on the planet.